Hi, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Kinyu, and welcome back to Truffle Thoughts.
Tutorials on dark feminine energy and pretty privilege have been going viral all over TikTok.
But why is this persona so appealing to both men and women, and have some videos gone a little too far?
Society loves coming up with ways to label people, especially women. Dark feminine energy and pretty privilege are just two of the phenomena that are taking social media by storm. But what do they mean? Let's start with dark feminine energy. Medium calls it the term that has been created to describe a woman's powerful nature. There may be something inherently intimidating about her, as she is alluring, strong, perplexing, and domineering at times. Stylist describes it as all about championing the shadowy, less socially acceptable side of the self, and learning how to use that to your advantage, particularly when it comes to romance. Vogue states that in her dark feminine era, the woman is the one drawing the boundaries, refusing to over-explain her emotions and communicating her needs assertively. She can choose to pursue her professional ambitions over love or be openly promiscuous and learn to confront her past instead of running away from it. In theory, dark feminine energy is a fantastic concept because it's calling for women to be unapologetically confident, which is a typically masculine trait. We can't talk about dark feminine energy without comparing it to light feminine energy. According to the feminine woman, 3 traits of dark feminine energy are devilish, liberal, and placed with desire, while 3 traits of light feminine energy are angelic, conservative, and feels love. The key difference between the two is whether the person prefers expressing or suppressing themselves. The motto of dark feminine is screw what people think, while for light feminine, it's do the right thing. In terms of pretty privilege, Vice calls it the idea that people who are conventionally attractive based on current social beauty standards have more advantages and opportunities compared to those deemed less attractive. Glamour considers it the term the internet has coined to describe the benefits associated with conforming to society's beauty ideals. Allure says that it's the societal advantages, often unearned, that benefit people who are perceived as pretty or considered beautiful.
Often unearned? What is this condescending behavior? If I look like Bella Hadid pretty, I would be like flaunting my looks.
Traditionally, women had more limited roles in society and were confined to being homemakers.
Which is not a bad thing.
Some progress was made when women were allowed to join the workforce in limited roles like being secretaries and teachers. But then society progressed even further, and we now see women in every role you can think of, especially those that are considered traditionally masculine jobs. But there was and is a lot of pushback, stereotyping, and unconscious bias that still exists till today. So women had to adapt to make sure things get done our way. Studies have shown that people who are deemed as more attractive are more successful, such as being deemed as more trustworthy. According to Vogue, it is an open call to arms for women to bend to the same tactics that have been wielded against them to their own will. At work, this translates into being dominant, assertive, and taking control in the boardroom, traits that have been inexplicably coded as masculine, but doing so in a sultry, feminine way. The idea of adopting dark feminine energy or using your pretty privilege to your advantage is a very alluring concept because it allows the woman to be put in a position of power, plus it amplifies the sense of mystery behind the woman who is deemed as more attractive compared to the conventional submissive woman. These concepts have branched out to 2 more personas, which are femme fatales and man-eaters. Britannica defines the femme fatale, which is French for fatal woman, as a seductive and beautiful woman who brings disaster to anyone with whom she becomes romantically involved. Urban Dictionary calls the man-eater as the female equivalent to the more male-associated words like pimp or player, an irresistible woman who chews and spits out men after using them for some sort of gain, be it sexual, financial, or psychological. Femme fatales and man-eaters have gone beyond the empowering roles that we see in dark feminine energy and pretty privilege, because it puts the women in a position as showing them as master manipulators who are preying on unsuspecting men. Your Tango states that womenizers and man-eaters alike want to make bunny rabbits. In other words, we consider man-eaters just as sleazy as womanizers. In the Takes video, The Vamp Trope, the femme fatale presents herself as a vulnerable victim in need of help, preying on a man's desire to be heroic.
Need advice on how to unleash your dark feminine energy? Just search it up on YouTube or TikTok and you'll see tons of videos where people will teach you how to master this trait. There's even like ebooks written on it. And in these videos, you see them describing a femme fatale as someone who is aware of her beauty and sexual power and knows how to weaponize it. She's confident, dominant, unapologetic, and seductive. And as SG Club describes, these videos are talking about letting their deepest feelings, the unconscious, traumas, needs, fears and desires emerge by giving women a chance to explore a side they often forget or are forced to keep in check. So what are the traits of a dark feminine energy and how to channel it? Well, number one, be a high value woman who never lowers the standards for anyone, and that includes your partner, friends and career. 2, control your emotions. Always rein in all emotions, so never be too angry or too excited. Never be petty or jealous. You are unbothered with anything that does not revolve around you. So always maintain a cool demeanor and never reveal your true intentions with anyone, which leads to number 3, be mysterious, which is the most irresistible trait of a dark feminine woman, as she's unpredictable, leaving you wanting more of her. And number 4, be manipulative. A dark feminine woman knows how to play mind games to get what she wants and to avoid being manipulated. In all fairness, I do see some of these traits as positive things to adopt, like for example having high standards for oneself. Nothing wrong with that, we should all have high standards for ourselves. But the problem here is some of these traits are like encouraging manipulative tactics, which I don't think we should encourage nor teach people how to be a manipulative person. Just go onto TikTok and you see so many videos like, manipulating men is so easy, read my ebook and he'll be obsessed with you. Or, here's how to make a man obsessed with you, ignore him every once in a while looking at him with siren eyes, occasionally cancel plans, text him good morning and then don't respond to him for hours after he replies, and give him only just enough of attention to keep him wanting more. There's even videos of priding yourself to act as if you're easy manipulated in the relationship, but then you're the actual manipulator. I don't think we should be teaching and encouraging people to be manipulative people just to get what you want, and especially teaching this to young teenagers who at that time are trying to find out their identity and learning a lot through consuming media. It just sets up a very toxic relationship for you with everyone else in your lives, not just with men, with your friends, with your family. So I don't think it should be a trait that we should master from. Even the control your emotions trait that I mentioned earlier, yes, I do agree that it's good to keep your calm and peace during certain situations, but I don't think we should always hide our emotions and keep it in, or belittle oneself if you're just a very excitable person or a person who is more emotional. And as I said, some of these traits like being confident, knowing your power, having high standards are good characteristics to have. And there's something very empowering embodying the femme fatale trait. It's just that I think some of the messaging got a bit twisted along the way.
The aesthetic of a dark feminine woman is likened to a siren. A siren is a Greek mythological creature who uses her enchanting music to lure sailors and ships. In contrast to mermaids, a siren is more sultry, using her appearance to her advantage. TikTok's siren makeup look is elevated grunge. It uses eyeliner, dark eyeshadow, a red or nude lip, and mascara. Vogue describes that in her dark feminine era, a woman might swap candy pastels for sultry noir ensembles, paint her lips in a devil-may-care shade of marsala. And as SG Club describes it as a green light to severe slick chignons, unruly tails, thick, wavy and seductive hair, red and black nail polish, and enveloping fragrances. Makeup focuses on both lips with dark lipstick shades from red to plum to black and siren eyes. If you look up dark feminine on Pinterest, you will see a ton of low exposure pins of women dressed in black, elegantly clutching a glass of champagne or wine, smoking a cigarette, or wearing sunglasses. Other pins feature bouquets of roses, dark rooms lit by candles, and mirrors or books littered with lipstick kisses. Someone who I believe actually embodies the dark feminine energy character very well is Megan Fox. Especially in the movie Jennifer's Body, she literally acted as a man-eater because she was turned into a succubus after being sacrificed by a bunch of lame boy bands who wanted to become famous or something. I didn't understand the movie when it first came out because I was literally 10 when it came out, but as with any movie that I rewatched as a teenager or adult, I grew to appreciate it as a feminist cult classic. More on the backlash later, but Megan's entire aesthetic in the movie screams dark feminine the moment she transformed into a succubus. The contrast of her long black hair with her white prom dress that was later covered in blood, her dark manicure, curled eyelashes, and evil but beautiful lip gloss smile, and the moment she lit a lighter and held it to the tip of her tongue. Megan Fox in real life also embodies dark feminine energy, with her sultry look and her dark eye makeup. I mean, questionable blood rituals aside. But yes, her as a person also embodies dark feminine energy aside from the character she played. There are definitely plenty of other notable celebrity representations of dark feminine energy that tend to pop up quite frequently. Angelina Jolie is a very prominent one. I especially find that her aesthetic in The Tourist exemplifies dark feminine. Colleen Atwood, the costume designer for the movie, described Angelina's style in the movie as extremely feminine and powerful at the same time. All her looks in the movie elegantly embody the old money aesthetic, but with the seductive twist of dark eyeshadow. I especially love her black gala dress in the final scenes. Lana Del Rey is also heavily associated with this aesthetic. W Magazine describes her as a cross between sultry, glamorous Priscilla Presley and casual California cool girl, deeply glamorous, thoroughly heartfelt, and just a little bit pouty. During Milan Fashion Week 2013, Lana entered her vamp era, wearing a dark mini dress with lace sleeves and detailing, vinyl boots, blood red lipstick and nails, and black hair. Saving the best for last is Catherine Zeta-Jones as Elena in Zorro. Catherine was my first childhood girl crush because her powerful character had an air of mystery. In the first movie, you could tell that Elena was much more than a sheltered and innocent young woman. There was one scene in particular where she engaged in an intense sword fight with Zorro, and they were equally matched. And her red and black dress in the dance scene with Zorro, paired with red lipstick and dark eyeliner, were just wow. In the second movie, Elena is blackmailed into being an undercover spy to seduce the villain of the movie, and she played the part very well. Her intelligence and skilled swordsmanship were once again shown throughout the movie, and her black dress at the climax of the movie with the tulle sleeves really solidified her femme fatale look. All these trends started for very good reasons, but somewhere down the line they got really twisted. So how did these trends related to women empowerment become manipulating men? The answer is misogyny. As Richard Lingman writes in the noir 40s, the rise of the femme fatale in films noir reflected male ambivalence and anxiety about those Amazons unleashed by the war, who worked at men's jobs, had sex with whoever they wanted, and rejected home and motherhood. Hollywood resorted to the noir plot to sell the post-war message that women belonged in the home, not in the factory, let alone in the boss's office, except as his loyal secretary. While I mentioned earlier that pretty privilege is women reclaiming the narrative of our lives, it's hard to ignore that these trends like femme fatale have misogynistic origins. These trends aim to stifle the role of women in society by villainizing the sensual and mysterious woman in film. The media has instead planted the bias in our mind that a woman who doesn't serve her traditional role as a homemaker is a problem in society and that she is up to no good, just a master manipulator. It comes as no surprise that we now recognize how these personas went from appealing to the female gaze by being empowering to women to instead appealing to the male gaze. We've all heard the term that sex sells in advertising, and it's no surprise then that women like Megan Fox have been typecasted as a sex symbol in media. Vox highlighted that when Jennifer's Body premiered, it was viewed as a sex romp for straight teen boys, and as such, it was a failure. Marketing for the movie fronted Megan as a sex symbol, and she even spoke in an interview saying, "I'm on display for men to pay to look at me." However, the narrative shifted in the post-Me Too era. Vox continues by saying, what Jennifer's Body offers up in response to the trauma and tragedy of what happened to Jennifer is Jennifer turning her trauma against her attackers, to wreak bloody vengeance on the patriarchy. And lo, suddenly Jennifer's Body is not a sex fantasy, it's a revenge fantasy. Now everyone appreciates Jennifer's Body as a feminine cult classic. With the shift in social perceptions of women in media, why does it still matter whether what women say, do, or look appeals to men? According to the Takes video, the pretty girl trope, while actual beauty can take many forms, our society's classic ideal of women is rather specific, manufactured by the male imagination. Today, women often don't have the privilege of not looking pretty, where men are just not routinely held to the same standards or expected to put so much effort into their presentation.
I agree on the point that you made about Jennifer's Body, and I think people appreciate it now because it's a reflection of the characteristic traits that a woman had to adopt to survive in a male-dominated society. Because Jennifer only became a man-eater after being brutally murdered and sacrificed by a group of musicians to advance their career. Because a femme fatale possesses traits of what a stereotypical successful man has, which is like the desire for ambition, someone who is powerful, assertive, and ruthless. Classical media and literature paintings view these women as dangerous and destructive figures who threaten traditional gender roles and morality, as women are supposed to be submissive and obedient. And because at that time, these traits are usually frowned upon by media, the femme fatale character are usually met with a punishment or demise at the end. Now, we're not saying that we are blaming men for women adopting manipulative tactics. It's never black or white, not that simple. We are mainly discussing that due to the patriarchal beliefs held by classical media at that time that punishes women who does not carry the traditional domestic values. And because of the predisposed idea that femme fatale are supposed to be manipulative, some have resorted to these manipulative tactics as a form of revenge, when in essence, the definition of a femme fatale is someone who is confident in her sexuality and in her feminine energy and possess strong ambition but without the manipulative tactics that some uphold her to. Something worth highlighting is that the femme fatale is both desired by men and women. Men want to be with her as she's the manifestation of a male's fantasy of desire and seduction that they can escape to. And for women, most of us want to be regarded as a femme fatale because not only are you beautiful, seductive, but you're also intelligent. In comparison, if someone were to regard you as a bimbo. And I'm referring to the traditional definition of bimbo that is defined as someone who is pretty but unintelligent, not the reclaimed definition of bimbo on TikTok.
Yeah, we did talk a little bit about that reclaimed definition in episode 5. Check that out here. The link is somewhere.
It's more enticing to embody one as you're adopting these masculine traits of ambition and power versus being regarded as a bimbo who only values oneself for their looks. And for men, at least a femme fatale is respected, even feared by men, whereas a bimbo is usually disrespected by them. And all this talk about dark feminine energy gained popularity on TikTok because of all the other aesthetics we see like cottagecore, clean girl, Siren, Y2K, dark academia, old money, Barbiecore, and many more other aesthetics. And there is inherently nothing wrong with adhering to any of these aesthetics. Honestly, it's just so much fun looking at how people express themselves and also finding your own personal style and what you like about certain aesthetic. It's all part of growing up. But the dangerous side to this is that some of these aesthetics highlights insecurities that you did not know even existed. And then it encourages you how you can change your look to fit into that certain beauty standard that appeals to you. Like Siren eye trend led to the fox eye surgery, seeing models with high cheekbones led to buccal fat removal, and nothing wrong with plastic surgery provided that it's a safe procedure to do, but it just highlights that how we're always subjected to conform to all of these ever-changing beauty standards.
To be honest, I think a lot of this just has to do with the fact that men just don't have as much to think about as women. I have to be really careful about mindlessly scrolling through TikTok late at night when I'm like easily suggestible, because as a gay man, I can easily end up on the deep side of women talk. The problem with women talk is that sometimes you end up developing these insecurities that you've never had before. And the other night, I was just scrolling through TikTok and I ended up for some reason on brow talk. I've never thought about my eyebrows in my entire life, and so watching all these girls tell me how to shape their eyebrows made me realize that I was actually missing a piece of my eyebrow. And I spent the next few hours researching what I can do about this missing eyebrow on the eyebrow subreddit, because apparently there's a whole subreddit dedicated to just your eyebrows. And that night, I got so freaked out that I booked myself a microblading session. And then the next morning, I woke up and I saw it in my calendar and I was like, why the fuck did I book myself a microblading session? And so I went to go cancel it and then they charged me a $300 cancellation fee. And I thought to myself, like, if I have to think about my eyebrows every day like that, I would easily develop mental health issues. And that's just eyebrows. I didn't even get to my eyelashes.
And having all these aesthetics also pressures someone to conform to that certain type of aesthetic. And I'm saying most people because I understand that most of us just use it to express our identity and to also find inspirations from other people's style. But reflecting on my teenage years, we didn't have TikTok at that time, but I was very into the Bella Swan and Nina Gilbert aesthetic. So I would always wear simple t-shirts, and then jeans, and I was so afraid of wearing skirts because I was so afraid people would actually judge me for wearing it, as I've already curated this identity for myself, even though most of the time no one really notices how we dress. But for those who do, they may say something like, oh, what's the occasion, why are you wearing a skirt? And I don't think they're saying it with bad intentions at all, you know, they're just curious. But I was just so afraid of people making comments on how I dress. And with my vampire era, I was also into the sad girl Tumblr aesthetic era. And you are what you consume, right? So I was not a sad girl to say, but because I was consuming lots of content that romanticizes sadness, so I was trying so hard to project that because that seemed, you know, cool to me. So I'm not trying to find an issue with the aesthetic trend. I think it's really fun to have, and I'm not trying to like suck out the fun out of people expressing their identity and fashion choices. It just got me reflecting on my teenage years. We're normally able to wrap up the episode with like a positive ending, but I guess we don't really have one for this.
While society has progressed beyond the widespread view that women belong in the kitchen, media continues to be subconsciously coded to the male gaze.
We live in a world that still conforms to these patriarchal views because even women ourselves, we sometimes have this internalized misogyny towards ourselves.
The best thing we can do to eradicate the system is to look inward and see how our values continue to push for a society that is far from equitable.
And that's all for today's episode.
Follow us on Spotify or subscribe to our YouTube channel Truffle Thoughts for new episodes every 2 weeks.
We're also on Instagram and TikTok at Truffle Thoughts.
Thanks so much for watching or listening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Come for the truffle, stay for the thoughts.
Bye!